Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Lisma. So today in this section, I'm going to discuss about direct and indirect. I hope you enjoy my video and hopefully you understand with my explanation. Just let's get started. First is definition. Definition of direct. A direct sentence is a sentence conveyed by an informant as if someone is giving a donation. The direct speech uses quotation marks as its characteristic and does not use hyphens in English sentence. Definition of indirect. An indirect sentence is a sentence that contains information from the first person that is not written as is. The meaning is only to convey what has been conveyed by the first person who provided the information without changing a single word. However, in direct speech, there are conjunctions and don't use quotes. Next is characteristic direct. First, mark with a quotation mark as we can see in the screen. The second, there is generally no conjunction. And third, quotation mark is located after certain verbs of quote speech or reported speech. Next, example of direct. First, Annie said, "I'm hungry." Second, Jake asked, "Study harder." And last, my friend told, "I will phone you when the night comes." Next, characteristic indirect. First, there is no quotation mark. And second, there is conjunction or to infinitive. Next, example of indirect. As I told to you, indirect, the sentence is Annie said, "I'm hungry." Then, in indirect sentence, there is will become Annie said that she was hungry. And the second is Jack asked me to study harder. And next, my friend told that he or she would phone me when the night came. Next is rules of change from direct speech to indirect speech. First, if the tense is in the main clause is simple present, present perfect, or simple future, then the indirect speech will change the pronoun. For example, I, me, mine, my, myself is main clause subject. For example, John say, "I do my homework." In indirect speech, it becomes John say that he does his homework. As we can see, in direct speech, the pronoun I in indirect speech become he. And in direct speech, the pronoun my become his in indirect speech. And then main clause object is you, yours, yourself, or selves. For example, in direct sentence, Jack said to me, "Your friend will visit you." In indirect sentence, it becomes Jack says to me that my friend will visit me. Pronoun your indirect sentence become my in indirect sentence, and pronoun you in indirect sentence become me in indirect sentence. The second rule is if the main clause uses the simple past tense, Then the indirect speech has three changes. A. Pronoun. The changes are like the previous slide that I told you before. B. Verb. The change from direct to indirect speech has consequence for changing the verb. Basically, this change moves to a further period or time, namely from the present to the past and from the past to the past perfect. Here is the change tenses from direct speech to indirect speech. First, simple present becomes simple past. For example, she said I always drink coffee become she said that she always drank coffee. And next is present continuous become past continuous. For example, he said I'm reading a book became he explained that he was reading a book. Next is simple past became past perfect. For example, he said Bill arrived on Saturday became he said that Bill had arrived on Saturday. Next is present perfect became past perfect. For example, he told me I had been to Spain became he told me that he had been to Spain. Next is past perfect to past perfect. For example, he explained I had just turned out the light became he explained that he had just turned out the light. Next is present perfect continuous became past perfect continuous. For example, they complained we have been waiting for hours became they complained that they had been waiting for hours. Next is past continuous became past perfect continuous. For example, they told me we were living in Paris became they told me that they had been living in Paris. And next, simple future became present conditional. For example, he said I will be in Geneva on Monday became he said that he will be in Geneva on Monday. Next is future continuous to conditional continuous. For example, she said I'll be using the car next Friday became she said that she would be using the car next Friday. But there is a modal verb that don't change in reported speech. These modal verbs don't change in reported speech is might, could, would, and should, and ought to. First, we explain it could be difficult to find our house became we explained that it could be difficult to find our house. And the second example is she said I might bring a friend to the party became she said that she might bring a friend to the party. So these modal verbs is don't change are still same in reported speech, indirect speech, or in indirect speech. Next is the types of indirect speech. The use of the verb of indirect speech and the conjunction depends on the type of sentence used in direct speech. First is statement. The conjunction is that. For example, in direct sentence, she said, I like my new house. In indirect sentence became, she said that she had liked her new house. Next, I will do it tomorrow, he promised. In direct sentence became he promised that he would do it the next day. In indirect sentence. Next example. In direct sentence, my grandpa died a year ago, said Jake. Became Jake said that his grandpa had died a year before. So the conclusion is, if the sentence is statement, then the conjunction in indirect sentence is that. Next is question. The verb used in this type should harmonize with something that engages in a question, such as ask, want to know, inquire, wonder, etc. So when direct speech use the verb say, it must be replaced with the verb above. A. With yes or no question. Conjunction whether, if. For example, do you want to see the cathedral? Said the guide. In indirect sentence became the guide asked if I want to see the cathedral. So the conclusion, if indirect sentence is question, then the conjunction is whether, if. Next, yes or no question with the answer yes or no. The conjunction is still same whether, if. For example, he said, can you swim? And I said no. Became he asked if I could swim and I said I couldn't. Next, informative question. Conjunction, question word. The use of a conjunction in this type follows the type of question word used. For example, who has been using my typewriter? Said my mother. In indirect sentence became she wanted to know who had been using her typewriter. So the conclusion is the conjunction is following the type of question word used. In this example, the question word used is who. Then the conjunction is became who. Next is command, request, and advice. To reflect on the three categories above, you can use perfect sentence such as statements, interrogative sentence which indicate request or advice, and you can also use imperative sentence. The way to change from direct to indirect speech for this category is to add to infinitive and not plus to infinitive provided that the verb of reported speech use the verb say according to the following certain verbs: advise, ask, beg, command, encourage, entreat, forbid, implore, invite, order, recommend, remind, request, tell, urge, warn. For example, she said, "Get out of my room, Tom." In indirect sentence became she told Tom to get out of her room. Second example, if I were you, I'd stop taking tranquilizers, I said. In indirect sentence became I advised him to stop taking tranquilizers. Next, changing time expression. Sometimes it's necessary to change the time expression when you report speech, especially when you are speaking about the past and the time reference no longer applies. For example, in direct speech, I'm seeing my brother tomorrow. In indirect speech became, she said she was seeing her brother the following day. So, the time expression tomorrow is changing in indirect speech became the following day. Here are some other examples. In indirect sentence, I had a headache yesterday. In indirect sentence became, you said you'd had a headache the day before yesterday. As we can see, the time expression in indirect speech, which is yesterday, changing in indirect sentence became the day before yesterday. And next is in indirect speech. It's been raining since this afternoon became, he said it been raining since the afternoon in indirect sentence. And the last, in direct speech, I have not seen them since last week became, she said she had not seen them since the previous week. So maybe that's all explanation for me. I know there is a lot of fault in my explanation because I'm still learning. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.